Now that Boruto 2 Blue Vortex is over and we've had time to digest Boruto freaking out about his karma seal activating and Himawari meeting Kurama, I wanted to use the former to explain how it's building on something that we saw at the start of Boruto 2 Blue Vortex Volume 2 in Chapter 5 of the story, because it is a key part of Boruto's character journey, because it's the last piece of the foundation for the Boruto Uzumaki that we have today. That's why in today's newest Naruto Explained video, I want to bring you guys a discussion on why it is that flashback scene in Boruto chapter 5 and the moment that Boruto is shown flying off in panic at his karma seal activating in the new chapter, they aren't just two separate scenes, but instead they're part of the same internal core conflict that is going to serve as an invaluable treasure trove from a symbolic perspective, which should make longtime fans of the Naruto franchise who are familiar with the hidden cultural themes of the story appreciate the journey Boruto has undergone between the end of Boruto Naruto Next Generations and what we currently have at Boruto 2 Blue Vortex. Now, just to be clear, this will not be a video essay walking through Boruto's entire journey from the start of Boruto Part 1 all up until the last arc of Boruto Naruto Next Generations. I've already done that in a video essay titled Boruto Uzumaki, The True Evolution of a Shinobi, which will be in the end credits of this video. So in order to understand why it is that Boruto's broken sword, Sasuke's defeat, and Boruto having that noticeable fear of his karma seal resonating with Kawaki and how they all link together, we must first understand the deeper importance of why Boruto being Sasuke's student is such a big deal, and it's a reason I have not seen anyone bring up here on YouTube. Based on what I've seen, it's all been surface level hype of, oh my god, Boruto's training under Sasuke, Naruto's rivals training his son, this is how Sasuke completes his redemption journey, and it's only really that last point that begins to start getting into the meat of the topic and dig into the deeper meaning behind why Boruto and Sasuke are an ideal pairing and why that moment in chapter 5 of Boruto 2 Blue Vortex was as crucial as it was. It all goes back to the core theme of Sasuke's quest to restore the Uchiha clan, something that still gets misunderstood to this day. It's not about him pumping babies into a harem full of women, but instead it's about the honor of his clan. Most importantly, it's about the samurai practice before the Meiji era that was referred to as Kataki Uchi, better known to a lot of you guys as the Art of Blood Revenge. Just as Sasuke's character for the entirety of his character arc in the 72 volumes of the Naruto manga had the underlying current of the samurai law that dictates the targets of his wrath, Boruto's story is layered with bits of samurai law and belief and can all be traced back to the same era that Sasuke got a lot of his inspiration from, like mentor, like student. Killing in the Meiji era, it was prohibited except for when the government deemed it appropriate to carry out those sentences, and that clashed with the certain customs and beliefs, particularly with those who were samurai who fought to bring about the Meiji era to allow for the son or the younger brother to avenge the dishonor of their family in the cases where the lives of a father, a mother, an elder brother, or a sibling were taken. Boruto and Sasuke, they have been patterned for this mold. I won't repeat the points I made about Sasuke and how it guided him from every target from Itachi to Konoha to Danzo to Naruto, because my video on why you're wrong about restoring the Uchiha clan will be linked in the description box. But for the case of Boruto, the moment Omnipotence was casted and Kawaki forced Ada to tell the lie that Boruto killed Naruto, he was getting Kataki Uchi added to his character's underlying arc, with a twist being made to it, just as we've seen more things related to Boruto that have carried over from Naruto. There have been twists that have been made because that is what you do with a sequel. One of them being Boruto's parents, they weren't dead, not like Sasuke's parents were, which is why Boruto's words to Shikamaru, where Shikamaru said that he would be the one out to kill Kawaki if he was Boruto, and Boruto merely said he wanted to beat Kawaki up and he wanted to talk things out. That's why it hit home that hard. It wasn't a surface level example of, oh, that's Naruto's son, he's gonna talk no jutsu him, so much as the circumstances were different. And I think that that's something that got missed by a lot of fans. A shinobi in Boruto training directly under another shinobi in Sasuke, who had his entire character arc fueled by samurai aspects, was choosing to go against killing due to their circumstances being different. He was pursuing a justice, but not through bloodshed, which brings me to the broken sword. And the biggest thing I think that was missed by fans that read chapter 5 that will make that moment where Boruto runs away screaming master, and the moment where Boruto runs away again from Kawaki in the newest chapter hit that much harder when you realize what that means. Boruto stood side by side with his master. He was fighting alongside him in battle, despite being stronger than Sasuke at that point in time. He fought alongside him as an equal, and yet they were far from equal. And the proof was in a key detail that most fans overlook. Sasuke's sword, it was intact, but Boruto's blade, it was broken. Both of them, they were fighting enemies at the same time. The exact same enemies. One of them was substantially stronger than the other, and they even knew all the jutsu of the other. Yet it was Sasuke who didn't have a broken sword because it was Boruto who had the broken blade. You might ask, hey, why is this important? And if your first thought was that, hey, that's got to be about skill, then you're absolutely correct to a degree, but it's more than just Sasuke's more skilled when you go deeper beneath the surface. It goes back to the samurai aspect. So we've already established that Sasuke's character has strong samurai influences, and parts of Boruto's character, they're being shaped to a degree by that. But one of the biggest signs is that what the broken swords themselves symbolize in samurai culture, and in particular what they symbolize in a lot of Japanese stories. On one hand, broken blades of katanas, they can be refurbished into things like a tanto. That's what we saw Kakashi carry around when he was a younger shinobi that belonged to his father. But for a samurai, a broken blade is first an indicator of a skill issue and a disconnect from the belief that a man's heart feels the harder the sword. It's why in One Piece, for example, Zoro's master tells him, hey, the best swordsmen, they can cut through diamond with the blade and still not be able to cut through paper with the exact same blade. However, it also carries the shame that comes from being defeated in battle by a stronger opponent and the loss of one's honor, one of the most important things in Japanese culture. All those things, they apply to Boruto here. Taking it a step further, a broken sword also stood to symbolize a lost family inheritance, something that also applies to Boruto because his was literally stolen from him by Kawaki. In both of those cases, the underlying commonality is that the wielder of the broken sword, should they survive or be cast out and they've buried their blade, they have a chance to walk the path to reclaim their honor, reclaim their inheritance, reclaim their dignity by becoming strong enough to defeat a superior opponent. Longtime viewers of the channel, you guys know that I've drawn multiple parallels to Boruto's character being patterned after the heir of the Minamoto clan story, a powerful family where a prince of a clan was cast out after the death of the father, and an adopted brother was behind those events and was assembling the hunt for the young samurai prince who eventually returned to reclaim his birthright and his lost inheritance. So Naruto is the killed father, albeit he is sealed away but publicly believed to be dead. Boruto's a prince who was forced to run away in helpless shame multiple times, and Kawaki was the ungrateful usurper who was trusted by the family who was eventually defeated. Granted, I don't think that Kawaki's going to get killed like said person was in that story, but we'll touch on that in another video. Boruto's whole purpose for training under Sasuke, it was to grow strong enough to return home and reclaim his inheritance by beating his brother Kawaki and getting his parents unsealed, finding a way if possible to have his life be returned to normal before it was affected by omnipotence, and ultimately defeat Code to save the planet from being harvested. That broken blade during the battle with Code and his Ten Toes army, it was a sign that despite growing stronger, despite being a fast learner, Boruto's heart still needed adversity to grow, and his own skill wasn't where it needed to be. Hence the significance of the broken blade. That's the underlying message to Sasuke's words when he tells him to run away in chapter 5. It wasn't just that losing Boruto meant the end of the world. It was also the fact that Boruto might be strong enough to fight in a battle, but he was not skilled enough to survive that battle, which is why Sasuke stressed to him, continue to train. The skills that I taught you, continue to sharpen them, and then you will truly become unstoppable. Sasuke's defeat it even added another layer to samurai elements. The father entrusting the protection of a child to a samurai, which in of itself, that is worthy of a video for the Boruto and Sarada dynamic. And that does not just go off of the whole pairing thing. So if you think that, go deeper beneath the surface. Boruto's redemption journey to reclaim everything taken from him, it just got another couple of layers added to it. He once again had to run away with stardust in his eyes, reliving his own personal American nightmare, thinking about another man, Code's victory in the battle against himself and Sasuke, and the shame is what fueled Boruto to change. That chapter where he was shown laughing with Sasuke, that was the last time by that point in the story that we had seen him smile and look so sincerely happy, and it was all by design. It was the first true smile that we see Boruto make in Boruto 2 Blue Vortex, and it occurs right before the defeat of his master and the source of one of Boruto's biggest shames. That's why Code rubs it in Boruto's face, saying 2 years ago, you ran away, and he continued to mock him, questioning basically, are you gonna run away again? He left his sensei to a fate that is worse than death, running away and crying with shame. Now, the village that Code in his memory, due to omnipotence, believes that it was Boruto who was begging Code to not harm Konoha, when the correct memory was that Kawaki was the one making that request. Code is using that past information in his altered memory to try and rub salt in the wound of Boruto during that invasion. He tells Boruto, the young samurai student, to do what he always does, which is run away like a little bitch. That's why Boruto standing proud against Code, it mattered so much. By defeating Code, by embarrassing Code, he started the process of avenging his master's defeat while also avenging his own dishonor that caused Boruto to run away with teary eyes in that flashback we saw. By saving Sarada from Code and warning her to stay on guard, fighting against the Claw Grimes, he was keeping his promise to Sasuke to protect Sarada. Boruto has continued down this adjusted path of Katakeuchi, and like his mentor Sasuke, where it was continuously shifting, a shift was being undergone by Boruto here. However, I want you to notice a key difference. We never saw Sasuke's blade break when he was on that path. Even as far back as Naruto's manga, Sasuke, he was a lot of things. Some people would even joke he was a homicidal emo in a desperate need of a hug. Maybe need to smoke a blunt, maybe need to take a drink, maybe need to relax a little bit. But one thing that can never be questioned is his conviction and the heart of his sword during that time, because his spirit was always strong, whether it be Itachi, Danzo, Kaguya, Jigen, Ishiki Code. His blade never broke against stronger opponents or against opponents that brought out his bloodlust, and it's because of that combination of his skill and the heart of his blade. Boruto needed that loss at the hands of Code to become who he is becoming now, and thus far we have not seen Boruto break Sasuke's blade because he's currently undergoing a transformation in the heart where it matters the most, because his fear of the Karma Seal shows that that transformation, it is still incomplete because it is still ongoing. Just as his own father needed to conquer his fear and his lack of control over the Nine Tails power, Boruto has a similar thing he needs to do with his Karma Seal. It is a spirit issue. The spirit is linked to Yin Chakra, something that the Uchiha, they are closely tied to, which is another reason Sasuke being Boruto's sensei, that's why that's so perfect. Especially when you go back and you look at why Momoshiki was getting pissed off. Sasuke was reinforcing Boruto's spirit by giving him hope. Momoshiki needed Boruto to break mentally so he could take over long-term control of his body. What was the thing that gave Boruto the strength to allow himself to be killed by Kawaki? Wearing Sasuke's headband, by Boruto's own words. Boruto, wielding Sasuke's blade with each metaphorical swing, is cutting away at his own self-doubts, but there are multiple layers to cut through between himself and Momoshiki, and while a physical blade cannot harm Momoshiki's soul, it cannot harm Momoshiki's spirit, it can give Boruto's own soul, his own spirit, the strength needed to move forward. Kashin Koji's warning to run away because Boruto will lose control, and Kawaki's own observation and conclusion that Boruto cannot control karma, it all goes back to the same point. He has a symbolic dragon in Momoshiki to slay, but until he does that, until he properly resolves the Momoshiki issue and controls his karma without the fear of resonance, he's not going to be able to stop Kawaki. Not being able to stop Kawaki means not being able to reclaim his inheritance by unsealing his parents. not being able to control karma without a fear of resonance means that he's not going to be able to defeat the Shinju who are trying to consume he and Kawaki. But by extension, it is implied that the Ten Tails, in particular the Ten Tails main body, has something to do with Boruto getting Sasuke freed from that tree that he's currently trapped in, which means he won't be able to save Sasuke, another source of his shame. Conquering karma, slaying that metaphorical dragon known as Momoshiki, that starts the part of Boruto's hero's journey that Joseph Campbell writes about in his book, where he goes through the various stages of the hero's journey. Strongly recommend reading, but the step in particular is called the Inmost Cave, which is one of the final stops before beginning the final arc of a hero's journey. To some, and to a lot of you guys, it's only going to be a broken sword. You're not going to make a big deal out of it. But to the trained eye, and hopefully after watching this video, it represents something deeper to you for Boruto's character, which this video on the left goes into extensive detail about his path to becoming a true shinobi, and the video on the right is my new Chainsman chapter review on my other channel, KRYPTONIAN SAIYAN.